Hi everyone. After a slight snafu with my virtual presentation, I'm re-recording using Loom so that hopefully you can see the slides, because the slides really are the visual for how to utilize the app. So without that and just my voice talking, that wasn't very productive. My presentation today is on swirling with the app Book Creator. If you're not familiar with the acronym SWIRL, it stands for speaking, writing, interacting, reading, and listening. So essentially it's creating activities that incorporate all four of the language domains, plus opportunities for students to interact. And I chose this topic for my Virtual 19 presentation because I find Book Creator to be one of the most useful apps that I have in my repertoire. I've been using iPads in the classroom for years with kindergarten and then also as an EL specialist. And what I've discovered is that all educational technology is not created equal. There are some apps that are really valuable in terms of supporting students in their language development. And there are other apps that, can create situations where students are playing games in isolation and they're not increasing their reading skills or their writing skills or their speaking skills. And I found that Book Creator is one that can incorporate all of them. So today I'm going to give you a tutorial on how to use the app and what different tools it has to offer. And then I'm going to talk about why this app is particularly great for English learners. I have a slide with my contact information so you can know how to get in touch with me. If you have questions following the presentation, you can send me a direct message or tweet me at topple_ELD, or you can email me at katie.topple@gmail.com. Before I talk about how to use the app, I just want to go over kind of access and pricing. Book Creator is available on iPads, and it's also available as a Google Chrome extension. On the iPads, it costs $4.99 per student. The price does vary in different countries, but in the US, it's $4.99 per student. If you purchase 20 or more at one time, you can get bulk pricing, which is half price. So that's a good discount, a 50% discount. And I recognize that it's not the least expensive app out there, but it really is worth it. There's also a free version, but students can only maintain one book on that version at a time. So in order to create a new project, they would have to delete their book, which once students create books, they really want to keep them. So getting the paid version really is worth the money. For Google Chrome as an extension, there are annual rates starting at $60 per teacher per year, and there are also bulk pricing available. I'm not as familiar with Google Chrome because I've only used this on the iPad. But if you Google Book Creator, there's a lot of information out there. You can also tweet at them and they will be happy to answer your question. Also, there's a variety of resources available. If you Google Book Creator Teacher Resources, the top link leads you to this, in which you can find a variety of different content areas, and you can also find kind of by different grade level projects using Book Creator. So if you are interested in using it and you just want to get some ideas or inspiration, you can check out this page and view projects that are created by students. I love Book Creator because there are a variety of tools available, but they're very, very intuitive and easy to use. Students can add text, they can add photos, whether it's a photo that they have in their camera roll or whether they take a photo right then and there. They can add multimedia videos. There's a drawing tool so that they can actually write words or draw sketches to go along with what they've spoken or what they've written. And then there's also multiple layouts. So there are a lot of elements of choice that students can use as they create their projects. What I'm going to show you now is a video where I a screen grab of me using the app, and I'm going to walk you through that. It didn't audio record, but that's what I'm going to do now, is to share what I did as I went through the different steps. So the Book Creator is that tie-dye book, and when you go into it, it shows you the books that you currently have, and you can go to the upper left-hand corner to create a new book. You can see that there are a variety of book layouts that you can choose from. There's comic book formats on the bottom, and then there's also just different shapes of book that give you either 1 or 2 pages. I typically use landscape for my projects. When you go in and you click the plus on the top, it opens up your toolbar of all the different things that you can do to add to your page. You can add photos, you can access your camera, all of these different things. There's shapes. You can even include a map, which is really cool if you were doing something around where students are from. I'm going in and I'm clicking on the text so that I can type and I can add a title. I'm going to create a quick All About Me book. When those words are highlighted with the blue bars, I can click on that I inside the circle and access a lot of different tools to change the font, to change the size, bigger, smaller. I can change the font and what it looks like. So this is an element where students can really have ownership to make the project represent them and what they want it to look like. So I can kind of see different fonts until I find one that I like. I can also go in and change the color of the font by clicking on the different colors until I find something that matches my personality or shows what I want to express. I can change the alignment. And then I can also stretch out the box by clicking on one of those blue circles and dragging it so that I can stretch it out, because we always want the words to not be so close together and stretch out, especially when students write sentences. So next I'm going to go and I'm going to utilize the pen tool so that I can write. So on the top, you'll see there's a pen and an eraser. The pen tool gives you options for different line thickness. And you can also choose a different color by clicking on that circle at the top. And then students can write. So they can label pictures, they can write their name, they can write their sight words, they can write their vocabulary words. If you click on the eraser tool, they can erase anything and then go back to the pen tool to continue on if they realize they made a mistake. So everything in Book Creator is very easy to remedy if a student feels like they made a mistake and want to change it, which is nice. Again, by clicking on one of the blue circles, you can shrink down the box and adjust it and fit it wherever you want onto your screen. The next thing I'm going to do is add a photo, because this is a book about me, and so I want to access my camera. So I'm going to click on the camera function, which opens up my camera. I'm turning it around so that I can take a picture of myself. So again, there's that ownership piece. This is a photo of me. It's not a random picture of a random kid from the internet. This is me. I can shrink it down, and then there is the cover of my All About Me book. So I've included a picture, I hand wrote my name. So I've already done several different elements just on the cover. Now, you can highlight a particular word in order to format those words. You can also format the page. So right here, I have my blue bar around the title, which gives me access to change the font or the color of that title. If nothing is highlighted, I can go in and I can change my page. So I can change the color of my background. There's a variety of colors. There's different borders. There's these comic elements or designs. There's so many things. Now, something I will caution about is that we don't want students to get so caught up in the design that they forget to actually do the reading, writing, speaking, and listening. So what I like to do is I like to set expectations in advance about what students can and cannot do. If they are able to quickly choose a design and move on, that's great. If they're going to spend 5, even 10 minutes choosing different colors and different designs, that's too much time taken away from their language practice and language production. You can also use all of these design elements as an incentive. If students finish XYZ for their book project, then they can go in and do the design. It's really fun and engaging to have all of those different choices, but we need to balance our need for students to have interest and investment in the project with time and wanting to be productive. That last screen showed there's also an opportunity to add music. So I've gone to my second page, and what I'm doing now is I'm adding text. I'm typing a sentence about myself. I am a teacher, using just the text function. I click on done, and then that gives me my box. Now the same font and size have been carried over, and I want to actually change that. I want a smaller size. I want kind of a more clear font, and I'm just going to change it to black. Often I set those expectations around what I want if I don't want students to spend time changing everything. So I might say black text and this font, and that's what we're all using. We're not changing anything. Now that I have my sentence written, I want to find a graphic. So I'm going to my browser and I'm just doing a Google search for an image. I'm typing teacher clip art, and that gives me access to a bunch of pictures. I'm finding the one I want and I click on it. Then I simply hold down the picture with my finger until I get the save image message, and I can save it, and then it goes into my camera roll. So when I go back into my book, I can add that picture to my page. So I'm going back into Book Creator, plus I'm going to my photos now because it's saved on my camera roll, selecting camera roll, and then I can import that picture so that it adds to my page to go along with the sentence that I wrote. So there's a visual with it. I can adjust the size and make sure that it looks like I want it to look. Then I'm going to go in and add sound. So I'm using that microphone. When I'm ready to speak, I click on the red button and I I say what I want to say. In this case, I'm going to read the words that I previously typed, and I'm going to read, I am a teacher. And that records my voice. I press the stop button, and then, yes, I want to use this. I can then rearrange and move that speech icon anywhere on the page. So I put it next to the sentence that I recorded, and then I can listen to it, and I can hear and maybe double check that my speech matches what I had recorded. I'm going to go to another page. I want to add text again. I'm going to have a new sentence to describe myself. And my sentence is, I love to read books. I'm done with that sentence. So I click done. Again, I'm just going to change the formatting to make sure that it's stretched out into one sentence. And I'm sliding it to the bottom. Now this time, I want to include a video. So instead of accessing my photos, I'm going to go to my camera and just switch to video instead of photo. And then I'm going to turn the orientation toward myself so that I can record a video. So I can take some time to think about what I want to say. This is a quick video of me just talking about the book I'm currently reading, which is Growing Language and Literacy, that we're currently reading for ELL Chat Book Club. I'm recording my video. Then when I'm finished, I press that red square to stop it, and I click on Use Video. And that video is now embedded in my book project. Again, I can adjust the size of the video. I can move it around and put it where I want it. And then not only do I have a sentence, but I have a video that is another opportunity for language production. And again, I want to add an audio recording to go along with the sentence on the page. So not only did I give some extended talk about the book that I'm reading, but I also have that audio to go with my sentence, I love to read books. So both of them are on the page. Now I'm going to show you the read to me function. So on the top right, there was a triangle that you can click on, and it brings you into this read to me function. And at the top of the screen, it says read to me. And when you click on that, it highlights all of the text that you have created, and it reads those words to you. It is a robot voice. So there's the difference between what the student records in their own voice and then that read to me version. I usually reserve read to me for something that I've created because I know that I've correctly spelled words, and so that when it automatically reads it, it will be pronounced correctly. This is just going back to the beginning of the book to show how the highlighting goes across all of the print. You don't hear it, but a student would on their actual device. They would hear that being read. So this is an opportunity for a student to hear the words, and then maybe they can record what they've just heard. So they hear the book read, I love to read books, and then they can record that. So there's lots of options of the language that they can access. Once I'm done with my book and I go back to my main page, I can very easily share my project to Seesaw. So a lot of us love using Seesaw as a way to share with parents. I click on the action arrow button and I click on export as video, and I can just scroll over and find my Seesaw icon. I click on that, and it's going to bring me to my class page so that I can identify whose work it is. Now I can do this as the teacher to save it for a student, or the students can do it themselves once you've got that connection to Seesaw. So I can click on, there's Mrs. Topple. I click on that, I press the green check mark, and it's now uploading to my class Seesaw page, which is a great way to archive what they've done, share with parents, or possibly share with a co-teacher. My students create things in their regular kindergarten classroom, and then they upload it to Seesaw so that I can access it from home, from my phone or my iPad. So you can see there, I just went on Seesaw, and there's my book in a video format. Right now you're looking at kind of my bookshelf and different projects I've created. I did a couple different versions of the All About Me. Here was kind of a picture scene where a newcomer could look and identify words that he knew and record them, or I could do that so he could hear the words. We worked on a recycled crayon project. We worked on a woven turtle project, and these are books that I created to make the input comprehensible for my student, for my newcomer. So here I took pictures of the process of making recycled crayons, so they were real photos. They see the words visually typed, and then I also recorded those action words. So as we were going through this process, my newcomer had the book, and he could click on those icons and hear what it was that we were talking about. I have a few nonfiction books that I created when we learned about penguins. I created this book with lots of photo images of penguins, in addition to simple sentences with repetitive sight words, and also images that specifically tied to content words I wanted the student to be able to know. So not only is the whole sentence read aloud, but also then specific words. The penguin has flippers, and then specifically that picture of Flipper with the word Flipper right next to that body part. So this is an opportunity to make content knowledge comprehensible for students. They can use that read to me function so that they hear the words being read aloud, and then they can also read the words themselves or repeat the words. This was a book that I created about frogs. So again, a lot of content words that I want students to be able to know, but also in a repetitive with repetitive language so that they could get those sight words and have those repeated. And then also key images that go along with the particular content words. And here there's key image to go along with those images to go along with those describing words like tiny and jello so that students know what it is I was talking about. This last page has sentence frames. So I created this book and airdropped it to my student, and then they were able to learn the content through the book, through the comprehensible input, and then use these sentence frames to then record something about what they learned. So once the book is shared to them, they have the ability to edit it and modify it so that they can add with recording, they can add with text, and they can add anything to it. Okay, now I'm trying to get to my next page and it's not working. There. Sorry, there we go. This next video is a video that demonstrates how easily a kindergarten student can use this app. So when apps are first introduced, oftentimes it takes a lot of instructional time to teach students how to use the app and go through all the different functions. And like I said, I like to really explicitly teach expectations ahead of time because students are very tech savvy and they know how to figure things out. And so I like to set my expectations up front, whether that is, no, you may not add colors in different fonts, you may not you are only going to record or you're only going to write, and just set the expectations of what you want them to do so they're not trying to figure it out on their own. And that is really a lot of time up front. But once students are well versed in using it, as you'll see in the video, it's a very, very quick process. So in this video, you will see a kindergarten student, and he is starting a new book. He is uploading a graphic organizer template and then adding voice recordings to talk about his fishing trip. So the language lesson that students had just participated in was a co-taught lesson around the field trip they had gone on for fishing. Their content objective was to just recall the events of the field trip, and their language objective was to describe the events using sequencing words, details, and specific verbs. So we had a lot of pictures, and we practiced complete sentences, we practiced past tense verbs, and we practiced putting them into a song so that they would be prepared for the language portion. They also talked with partners. They watched the teacher's model, talking about the field trip. And then now they are accessing their iPads independently to record their personal narrative as a scaffold for writing. So you will see my student who was a beginner speaker at the beginning of kindergarten and how easily he can utilize this app to record his ideas. So he's going into his photos and he is finding the template that they use every time for their personal narratives. And he's clicking on that so that appears on his screen. And now he's able to add voice recordings and place them into the individual cells of his graphic organizer to organize his narrative.
We going to fish.
So his first recording is "we going to fishing," and that was his topic sentence that he moves into that topic sentence portion of the organizer.
First, I choose the net.
He says, first I choose the net. He's using that sequencing language. He's able to think before he records. He's in control.
Next, I caught the fish.
Next, I caught the fish. So I hear him using a past tense verb, even though he doesn't in all of his sentences.
Last, we eat snack.
Last, we eat snack. And now he's going to talk. He's going to record his feeling.
I feel happy.
I feel happy. So he has successfully verbally recorded a narrative. Here's another example.
We went fishing. First, we ride on a bus. Next, we
And this is a quick video to show how quickly I can share a book to Seesaw. So again, the action arrow button on the bottom, I press export as video, and students can do this independently. Click on Seesaw, wait for the class list to appear, and then identify whose work it was. That was actually Edgar's, so I click off of Gino. I click the check mark, and then that project is part of their digital archive on their Seesaw account. I'm just trying to get to my next slide now. Oh, the joys of technology. It's not working for me. There we go. So when we talk about swirling, I just want to re-emphasize all of the different ways that students can engage in these different language domains. When it comes to speaking, they are recording their own audio, which may or may not be supported by sentence frames or other visual scaffolds. They can also record and import a video so that they can have maybe props or something else that they're showing. They might have more extended language or other language targets that they're incorporating into a video that they could import into their book. For writing, they're composing sentences. They can also label photos or images. So for beginner speakers, newcomers, or just young students, they might start by writing or typing single words before they get to sentences. They can also write captions for pictures, and they can publish, which truly supports them in feeling like writers. They can interact with this app because they can collaborate on recording videos. They might talk to each other and have a third student record that, and that becomes part of their project. For example, if they're researching an animal, they might have a short interview where one student asks the researcher questions about the animal, and they have an opportunity to answer, which is an interactive element that includes speaking and listening. They can also give and receive peer feedback. So they can partner up and they can read and listen to one partner's project and then give feedback. So they're giving verbal feedback. They're having to listen and incorporate that, and they can talk about their projects. Another way students can interact is just helping each other with how the app functions. I often see students who don't remember how to delete something, or they don't remember how to change this element. And they quickly learn that they can utilize classmates as resources. When it comes to reading, students read text on the page, and that might be text that they created themselves. It might be text that the teacher created. They can read their own book, or they can read sentence frames that the teacher might be providing as a scaffold for the creation of the book. So if the teacher really wants students working on a particular language form, the teacher might provide sentence frames that students can read and then incorporate when they are either recording on their book or when they're writing. And then the last one that is covered by my photo is listen. They can listen to their audio recordings. They can listen to the read to me function. So either the robot voice or maybe the teacher's voice having recorded sentences. And they can also listen to a peer's book. And they can do that on a peer's iPad, or when the peer uploads to Seesaw, they can listen to a variety of projects. And they can also, depending on the age, comment on somebody's project on Seesaw, which is another way to interact and practice that positive feedback. So something else is just the other benefits of Book Creator, that there are a lot of elements of choice. And as teachers, we know that we like to have choice in what we learn about and how we process our learning, and students like that too. So whether it's choice of whether they speak or whether they write, whether they have choice in the font or the color, all of those things are just personal ownership because students have choice. These books are very personalized and meaningful because they can incorporate real photos. So just like my All About Me had a video of me talking about my book, and I was able to show my actual book, a photo of me on the cover. They're very personalized, and students can really have creativity in their design, which just emphasizes that personal ownership. Now, again, I want to reiterate that sometimes too many choices and too much design takes away from the actual learning and the actual language production. So you as the teacher need to think about and understand what limits you want to set. So it's really important to play around with all of the different tools offered and decide which ones you want to give students access to and which ones you don't. Good example is, do you want your students to go onto the internet and search for pictures? For some, that opens a can of worms that they might access something you don't want them seeing. So in that case, you might collect the pictures you want and you might airdrop them to iPads so that students are really only accessing what's on their camera roll. In other circumstances, you want to let them use their camera to take pictures in the classroom. If you have a newcomer who's learning about your particular school, they could utilize the camera function to take a picture of your actual cafeteria and your classroom and friends, and then use those pictures as ways to gain language around those different places and the different people in the school. It could be a book of helpers, and it could have a picture of the teacher and the teacher's name with the teacher recording saying, "Hi, welcome." It could then have a picture of the principal, and it could have a picture of the secretary and the school nurse and different friends and things like that, which really does personalize it. I like the options for scaffolding in that with kindergarten, students record in order to scaffold their writing. So they speak first and then listen, and they can stop and listen again in order to sound out those words and write them down. You could also reverse that. So students write their sentences first in order to then practice speaking aloud more complex sentences that are more carefully thought about rather than speaking off the cuff. So you can kind of think about how you want to weave together the domains so that students have good support. Again, for scaffolding, you as the teacher can create books that students can access in order to make information and content comprehensible, whether it's through adding images, whether it's through recording words that you want students to be able to pronounce, or recording sentences that they then read and view through that read to me element. And that bottom word that's covered says versatile. And really that's just because book reader can be used anywhere from kindergarten on up through whomever, high school, college. Projects can be very different depending on what it is that you want students to do, ranging from them recording and maybe sounding out one word on each page to writing multiple sentences and paragraphs on a given page about a topic that they're researching. So there's so much that they can do to demonstrate not only their language skills, but their understanding of the content that they're learning about. And they feel such pride in being able to publish these books and share them with classmates and really take ownership over what they're creating. So that is all I have to share today. I will share this presentation out in hopes that you can actually benefit more from seeing the videos and the slides that I created. And please feel free to tweet me if you have any questions. Thank you so much for watching.